Hey everybody, welcome back. So today I have a follow-up, kind of follow-up. I don't really think it's like a follow-up video more than it is a video where I mentioned another project that I was going to be doing. And this is the other project that I'm doing. I need to put a fence down here to make sure that we don't get critters coming into our vegetable garden. And in order for me to put a fence up, I have to go ahead and drive these T-posts down into the ground. And in the chicken coop video, I think that's where I actually mentioned this, is where I had shown how I had driven some T-posts into the ground. And I think anybody who has ever had to drive T-posts is well aware of how bad it sucks to have to use this thing. I'm so tired of this thing. This stupid T-post driver. I don't ever want to have to see it ever again. Go away. Ugh. I mean, does anybody actually like using those things? Because it gets the job done. Don't get me wrong, but if you have hard packed soil with rocks and everything like that, like the property that I'm on, then those things right there are your bane. Now, I threw it away. I actually still need it, but I just wanted to make a point that the thing drives me freaking crazy, right? So what I had done trying to drive the T-post in this ground was that I had found some videos on YouTube that had shown like, hey, you can go ahead and do this and do that. And there's all kinds of different suggestions on how to go about not using that thing right there. Some of them included actual tools that were attachments to, believe it or not, tractors, which I have over here. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know if it's in the frame or not, but if it's not in the frame, the tractor's right here. And I was sticker shocked by the amount of money that they're charging to put those things and to be able to like drive T-posts into the ground. Some of those systems just cost an absolute arm and a leg. I'm not doing this for a living. This is something that I do, like, the vegetable garden's going to be a hobby for us. I'm not going to be going all over the place driving these things in the ground. I cannot justify spending the amount of money that they're asking for in order for me to be able to have it be a lot more convenient to drive T-posts in the ground. So I kind of kept my searches up and I found a solution, one of them anyways, that seemed like it was within my budget. I already had the tool. That tool is this guy right here, my rotary hammer that you saw me on another one of my videos where I was using the rotary hammer with a spade shovel bit on it to dig through this just disgusting clay that we have out here, because it's really, really hard to dig through. I mean, it's not impossible, but I mean, it's just a huge burden. I mean, almost as bad as using that T-post driver to try and drive T-posts, right? So I went ahead and got this. It really helped a lot. I was able to go ahead and dig through that compacted clay that was just super thick. And at the time it was like a little wet on top of that. I'm sure if I dug down far enough, it'd still be wet. So this right here comes in handy for stuff like that. And I was like, there's gotta be something. And I found somebody who had actually come up with a really good solution. And I tried it out, and it was taking an SES Max bit, cutting the bit, the actual like tooling part of it off, and just leaving the shank. And then taking the shank and welding on a kind of a square tube to it, so that way you could go ahead and put the bit into your rotary hammer and then drive those T-posts down using that. Well, I gotta tell you, that's a whole nother story all on its own. In a nutshell, my welder is a piece of garbage. I think I bought it off of Amazon. It was one of the cheapest welders that you can possibly get. It's a MIG welder, but you can't really call it a MIG welder because there's no argon gas, right? And I'm almost positive, and I'm sure that anybody who's watching this who does welding and everything else is gonna be like, oh my God, you're getting it all wrong. It's not like that at all. But that's not the point I'm trying to make. I'm not gonna be accurate. If you're watching this channel for super accuracy, you're gonna wanna go to that channel over there, or that channel over there, or up there, or down there, or wherever the heck it is, right? So this, I kind of like just pull things from my memory, and my memory's fallible. So I know that there's probably other specifications that make a MIG welder an actual MIG welder. I know that mine's not a real MIG welder though, because from my understanding, a real MIG welder has argon gas, and that's an inert gas to make sure that as you're welding and that stuff is really getting super heated up, and you avoid getting a lot of that oxidization, which really causes your welds to get fouled and they don't work properly. Well, that's kind of what wound up happening with me in a nutshell. I've used it on other projects for just simple things, tacking some stuff together here or there. Never really had to put a lot of force onto those welds to see like how do they stand up. I mean, they stand up well enough for just holding things together, kind of, you know, well for my needs. So that's what I use it for. But I tried welding this thing, and I tried so many different ways. I tried just straight welding, and it, when I put it on this rotary hammer and tried driving a T-post down, it lasted all of like maybe 10 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. And it just, the whole thing, the welds just broke apart and it just fell apart. I was like, oh, great. So I went back, tried it again with like laying on even more weld beads. I decided the whole thing was just a mass of weld beads. And then I took drilled holes through it and bolted everything together to try and like get that to hold together fast. And then I welded the bolts on top of it, brought it back out here. And sure enough, I think I got through one post, and then on the second one, it just started shaking everything apart. It would just break it all apart. The welds on the bolts themselves broke loose, so the bolts were rattling, and then the nuts backed off, and it all just fell apart. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, right? So that's when I wound up buying I said, all right, to heck with it. I'm gonna go ahead and just buy a T-post driver and try that out. So I did, and I drove most of those posts on the chicken coop and the chicken runs by hand, and it sucked. But I was not going to give up. What I had wound up doing is instead, since I don't have a really good welder, I commissioned somebody who did have a really good welder. As a matter of fact, it was a welding shop. So they had all kinds of different welders at their disposal. And the one video that I found where this guy had put something together that looked like it worked really, really well, he used a TIG welder. So I suggested, hey guys, maybe you want to use a TIG welder on this thing, because that's what seemed to work on this video. So that's what they did. Here is the result. And this is the magic piece of machinery that hopefully will stand up to driving these T-posts in. And I told the guy exactly what I was going to be using this for. I said, hey, you know, this is going to go into a rotary hammer, and it's going to be basically jackhammering T-posts into the ground. Do you think that a TIG welder will be able to stand up to that kind of, you know, force? And he's like, oh yeah, there shouldn't be any problem. So we're going to put that to a test, because as you can see, this is very, I mean, he did a great job. Good welds. He even painted it for me. I didn't ask him to paint it, but he did anyways. So he TIG welded all the way around here. So there's a square piece of material here, and he welded a piece of steel tubing onto it. And you can see again, you know, the welds are pretty good. You know, some are a little bit better than others, but whatever. I didn't pay that much for him to do this. He knocked this out in less than a half an hour, I'm sure. But, you know, be it that as it may, we're going to go ahead and put this thing to a test, because today I'm going to drive that T-post down into the ground and see how well this thing holds up. And I really have my fingers crossed on this one, because I do not want to drive all these T-posts for the fence by hand if I don't have to. And I already paid the guy for this. So if it doesn't work, I'm going to give him a call and say like, hey dude, it didn't work. What do we do about this? Because, you know, he pretty much said that it should be fine. I don't know where we can go from there, but we'll just see. But he seemed confident enough. Let's see how this plays out, because I'm going to slap this in to my rotary hammer. I've got my generator out here that's ready to go. It's all wired up. Everything's good. I've already marked out the line of where the T-posts are going to go. I have them like every 7 feet, except for this area right here, because this is where I'm going to have to drive my tractor in and out. So this is where the gate's going to go. I'm going to build a little gate. Well, it's not really that little of a gate, but it'll be a gate. There'll be a gate that's here that I can go ahead and open up to be able to get the tractor in and out, or have access into the vegetable garden and all that happy stuff. So enough talking, more T-post driving with this thing. I don't even know what to call it. T-post driver. Let's call it a T-post driver, because that's what it's supposed to be. All right, let's get this thing hooked up. Gotta pull back the foreskin on this and slide it on in. There we go. All right, that bad boy is in place. Now I am going to grab my headphones, because it's about to get loud, and I don't really feel like going more deaf than I already am. By the way, kids, if you have your hearing intact and you do anything that's loud, do yourself a favor and wear hearing protection, because I can tell you firsthand, tinnitus sucks. Have that constant ringing in your ears all the time, and I got like now I gotta say what all the time when people are talking to me, because I can't really hear them that well. I hear this ringing in my ears, or maybe it's the voices in my head. Huh. Either way, Wear hearing protection. Just telling you. All right, let's get this thing fired up. I think it's all turned on, ready to go. All right. I think that says on, right? Yes, that's on. Give it a couple of pulls. Maybe 3 pulls. Maybe 4 pulls. Maybe 5 pulls. I forget, this time no propane. 6 pulls. Maybe 7 pulls. Maybe 8. Maybe 9. 10. You can try counting. Don't count so far. 11. 12. It's getting there. 13. 14. The magic number. Okay, now that I'm out of breath, I'm done for the day. Going home. Oh wait, I'm already at home. Dang it. All right. I'm gonna put my gloves on because this thing vibrates like crazy. Imagine that. It's a rotary hammer. It's like a baby jackhammer. So go figure. It vibrates. All right. There we go. Power! And also I modified my ladder a little bit. I got this little retaining clip here. That's just kind of helped me to hold these T-posts in place. Now the reason why I said that I still need to have that driver is because I do have to drive it down about a foot, which doesn't take that long, so I don't really mind. And the top of this soil is kind of soft now that I've tilled it and everything. So I could drive it down okay. But the reason why I have to drive it down is because this is an 8-foot T-post. And when you add all this on, I have to slide that over the top of it. It's just too tall. You know, I can't get this rotary hammer with this bit over the top of this post unless I drive it down a little bit first. All right. By the way, it's a little unnerving to have to hold this giant hammer this high up while you're on a ladder. Fun times. All right, guys, here we go. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Success! Oh my God. So if you saw that white mark was marked at 2 feet. So, I think we have a winner. As a matter of fact, well, let's not count my chickens before they hatch. Although all my chickens did hatch. Whatever. That's 1. Let's just repeat that process and make sure that we're good. Because I would hate to say, I don't know why I drove that one first. I think I was supposed to try this one first, but that's okay. This one's supposed to be closer and more cool, right? I guess. Yeah, because that's a... All right, I gotta go get another T-post. Bear with me a moment as I walk off camera and go grab another T-post. All right. Got the post locked in place. Now I'll go get my stupid driver as I mar my freshly tilled field with footprints. Oh well, when the tide comes in, it'll all get washed away anyways, right? Oh yeah, I don't live anywhere near the ocean. Well, I gotta get my bedder. When I have a little bedder on order. When the bedder arrives, I have to, like, you know, bed up the field anyways, so I guess it's kind of a moot point. Yeah, nothing like coming up on a wobbly ladder. You're like a good, like, you know, the top of your head's about 10 feet in the air. Good times. Now imagine having to do this forever and a freaking day. Sucks. Oh, I didn't measure where 2 feet is. Yeah, I'll get it in a second. I don't really have to drive this in too far. All right. That right there be good. And I've got the cheesiest method for marking this, because I am being too lazy to go back to the garage and grab my tape measure. So when I was marking out the field, I used my little roller measure and my marking paint. Woo, good dusty and windy. Woo. All right, so I'll just go up 2 feet. 1, 2. Mark it. Do it. There we go. 2 feet. So it'll be driven into the ground a little bit more than 2 feet, because I already drove it into the ground just a little bit. Like I'd say maybe 6 inches or so. I don't remember off the top of my head how long that end of the T-post is before it gets to the little part that's supposed to anchor it into the ground. All right, let's see how this does with a second post. Will we have success? Can we repeat what we just did? Because repetition is the name of the game here, and also the metric by which I will measure success. All right, let's give it a shot. Yeah. All right, maybe I didn't think that part through too well, did I? Let's back this ladder out a little ways so that I can actually drive it with the drone. There we go. This is a process. We're learning together, folks. We're figuring this out. Fail! Look at that. You see this? Even this doesn't work. All right. Well, you know what? I gave it a shot. I guess versus a rock, even this thing can't handle it. That's really, really sad. I got one post in, hit a rock, and this thing just breaks apart. Unbelievable. Well, I'm not happy. Not happy at all. Ugh. Wow, I can't believe this. I thought for sure that this would be the solution. I mean, this was welded so well, and even that it just didn't matter. Didn't matter. That rock, it couldn't stand up to that rock. Look at that. It just absolutely tore that weld to shreds. I don't know if it's the weld. I think it actually like I think it tore some of this metal. If you can see this metal. Now, I don't know if that's because the weld just got really super hot, and that's just kind of like the pattern that the weld left when it was heated up and it melted part of the steel tubing here. But I highly suspect that the thickness of this tubing is not good enough. And it's only, I'm not really sure. It's certainly not a 1/4 of an inch. So maybe, might be like an 1/8, somewhere around there. I don't know. Yeah. So, boy. Well, I mean, I can't win at everything. I mean, eventually, let me backtrack on that one. This is a temporary setback. I do win on everything. I pretty much never give up. And if you think that I'm giving up on this one, nope. I'm gonna call that guy back and tell him what happened and see if he's got some ideas on the next steps that we can take to try and get this to work. Because it was driving that T-post down just no problem. I got that one down super duper quick. This guy here though, it hit that rock. And once it hit that rock and I just kept going, thinking like, hey, you know what? I'll break through that rock, no problem. Just keep hammering away at it. Well, nope. Busted my T-post driver instead. That is a shame. But you know what? Back to the drawing board. And as I stated, temporary setback. We will get this thing up and running again in the future. And I will come back and revisit this video. So that way I can kind of show you guys what we came up with next. 'Cause I'm gonna work with that guy, that welder dude, and see if we can't come up with a different design that maybe will work. But in the meantime, we will go back to the drawing board. All right. Thanks for joining me on this really sort of quick adventure, because it's a lot quicker than most of my videos. Most of my videos are a lot longer. As long as I shut up and end the video, because otherwise, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know me, I'll start getting carried away. Join me next time on my adventures of trying to drive in these freaking T-posts. And thanks for watching. And if you're entertained by these types of videos, especially when you see me fail, if you like watching me fail, I don't know what's wrong with you. Why are you watching my channel? Just to laugh at me. Hey, you know what? It's all entertaining, so I don't care. Thanks a lot for joining me. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you like the video, thumbs it up. If you don't like the video, thumbs it down. Whatever. I don't get paid by YouTube. You're not paying me, so either way, I don't care. So, yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. And I will see you next time, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.